Welcome to the Property and Coffee Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Atkinson.
I'm Matt Skehan.
We'll be fueling your financial future one coffee and property insights at a time.
Helping you navigate the property market like a pro.
Hello, and what a pleasure it is to have your company on the Property and Coffee Podcast today. I'm your host, Matt Atkinson, joined by my co-host, Matt Skehan, and we've got Brooke Sichau on as our guest today as a director of the Hiive Collective. Welcome, Brooke, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me, and good job on my last name.
Well, I hope we got that right. Today, we'll be exploring how Brooke and her business partner, Beck, have built a multi-faceted design and project management firm operating out of South Yarra. We're going to just be covering a bit about the Hiive journey, having a look at some of your core offerings. I know we got some insights into some of your specialty projects, and just delving a bit more into a space that I know a lot of Melburnians and Australians really is a bit grey, but want to understand, which is around renovations and what that journey looks like. Yeah. So without further ado, let's get into it.
So, Brooke, I'm going to hit up first with the hard question.
All right.
Given we're the Property and Coffee podcast, what's your favourite brew, and where do we find you drinking it?
It's an oat cap, and it's brought to me in bed by my husband. But no, if I had to go out, Baker Blue in South Yarra. Yeah.
It's funny, actually. My wife sent me something on Instagram. I think it was this morning. You know that if you get a coffee by your other partner, you know that's obviously a sign of a healthy marriage, and it's meant to. Yeah. So longevity there. So literally this morning. So it's funny, actually.
Yeah, it's in his better interest to bring it to me. Otherwise, you don't know what kind of Brooke you're going to get that day. So.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Happy wife.
That's it. She's not wrong.
Lovely.
Thank you. Well, let's switch tact. Talk us through some of the early days of Hiive, just how yourself and Beck started out, how you came together, and just obviously built the business that it is today.
Well, I'll give you the short version of it because the story's quite long, but the short version of it was I was a partner at a previous company, and Beck was one of the other partners actually asked me to interview her. I did not have a position available for her. I think they were friends or something like that. Long and short, I didn't want to hire Beck. Didn't have the space for her, and also I thought the business at the time, and I was someone who did it too, so I was guilty of it as well. We were hiring people we knew versus people who were actually good for the role. So I was trying to change that, particularly within the design team at that time, which was the team I was running. So I was very against hiring her. Then she kind of kept on my radar and kept doing all the right things, kept doing the follow-ups. So one of our design team members had asked to go to part-time. So I thought, and it was a full-time role, and I wanted to actually keep her. So I brought Beck in to, split that role basically with that person. And within a couple of months, really, it was very obvious that Beck was fixing the work of other people within that design team, doing the hours. She wouldn't leave the office until I would. She was, assisting me with things that had nothing to do with her role. So in terms of being a team player, she came in pretty hot and did an excellent job, and kind of as we stayed at that business for 2 years, she actually phased out most of the other people in the design team. She was that good.
Okay, stepping up and efficiency.
Really stepping up, and she was very efficient. And she was, she was 2 IC to me, and the best 2 IC I could have ever asked for. And then, like 2 years later, I decided that company wasn't where I wanted to be. I didn't really know where I wanted to be quite honest. So I resigned, and then I was thinking I would go back into corporate sales or something to that sort of effect. Once I said I was leaving, Beck was like, well, what's my job then here if you're gone? And I was like, I don't know, like ask the other people. And I actually don't think she asked. I think she just decided that if I wasn't there, then it was time for her to move on too. Her job kind of became invalid without me being there anyway. And after she resigned, she was like, right, so what are we doing? And it just became a bit of, a natural progression to start Hiive. I think within 2 months we had Hiive up and running. She wanted to continue on design. I was trying to bring in the concierge side of the business to the old business, but wasn't really getting the buy-in. So for me, that was just something that I had always wanted to do, and I knew that it would work. So we just kind of put our skill sets together, and away we went. Beck named Hiive. I had already done that before, named a business and done all the fun things like picking the logos and your colours and all that exciting stuff.
Harder than you think.
It is. And she did a great job. She went with Hiive because, it was like Hiive was a house to her, and we're the two Bs, Brooke and Beck. So she went with a name. And
it's clever.
It was that there's a lot of puns that go on in our office and on our social media. It was a really good name. And for me, I just wanted to make sure that it was a name that wasn't going to be like, Brooke and Beck Interiors or something like that, because
you don't really get buy-in from the team, I think.
Well, it's not a scale. The brand scalable. For me needed to be scalable, and that was all the input I really had, was making sure that it was a brand that we could develop as opposed to something personal or something that we could even one day sell to the next person, and it still made sense for them.
Yeah,
their names would have to start with B, of course, but otherwise,
lose the puns. Lose the puns.
Lose the
gold, the marketing gold. Yeah.
And so and then we were off to the races. I think we had a pretty good network, although we didn't take any clients with us. We jumped straight back into the networking pool and had our first referral partner client within sort of 3 weeks of opening, and built from there.
Awesome. It's always good to hear the story. I know myself. Yeah, I think you've got to remember that, right? Because that's the vision, the mission that dictates a lot of what you're doing. So
most people who ask how he met get quite the laugh when I say that I never wanted to hire her. She was supposed to just be a part-timer that I could.
Yeah, I was hoping that
fob off eventually.
And sometimes the best things are the ones best things, how they work out is when you least expect it, right?
It's been one of the better surprises of my life. So she's amazing. So.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for sharing. So you've talked about Hiive and obviously how it came about, but you sort of there's a lot of design firms around, but you guys are a bit unique and like to be a bit different. So tell us a bit more about what sets you apart, and in particular your studio and your concierge services, which are your two main core offerings.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess the surprise is to us, or has been for a long time, is that we don't really have any competitors. We have one competitor that we've quoted against, who operates in the same industry trying to solve the same problem that we have. So we're very specific. Our whole service offering tailors around the real estate industry. So, but it's not really, it's not sort of people off the street or your neighbours or what have you that are coming to us.
A bit more sophisticated, I suppose. Introductions.
So, we've kind of made our own little network, if you will, and lead generation pipeline, because we're very industry specific. Outside of our shop display side of the business, that's the only one that doesn't cater to the real estate industry. It's a bit of a standalone company. It's one that I've had for many, many years. And that's catering to the FMCG market. So when we don't advertise that side of the business. We don't really speak about it. Our clients are quite big, and because a lot of them are competing against each other, we don't tell anyone what we're doing for one and then the other, because that's a really good way to lose a client in that space. But the studio side and the concierge side run hand in hand. Many professionals are out there at the moment are doing work that they're not qualified to do, and I'm specifically talking about real estate agents and buyers agents. Not
at all. Never heard that.
Being
a buyer's market. It's very topical at the moment, Brooke. So you got to be. It's important to partner with the right people, right? And so that's obviously why. It's good to have someone like yourself around. So
but our referral partnership model is a major point of difference. So it's sign contracts with our referral partners. Provides us with opportunity for forecasting, gives our partners something that makes them different in a saturated market. There's a billion real estate agents out there. It's hard to find one that's different and unique. And our contracts also actively block out all of our competitors. So our clients can't go to anybody else, even if they wanted to. Otherwise, they lose our servicing and we'll go work with their next door neighbor, basically. So there's that. And then our offering is it's end to end. So working with our vendors to prepare a property for sale. So that's the concierge side. And then the target exposure that we're doing to then get our hands on the purchaser of that property to then offer our design services in terms of, design changes, renovations or extensions, and then repeating that cycle again and again and again. The closed loop approach is something that we're not seeing our competitors able to do quite as well as we have in the industry we're working in. We've seen them do it in other industries, but not quite here. So
I mean, and that's, as you say, right, part of the reason why your services then become popular, if you're offering something, but taking headaches away from people as well, adding value. Anyone would be wanting to jump on that, industry agnostic.
Yeah. I come with my own Panadol, so I'll take the headaches.
No, but that's what clients want. They just want you to solve a problem and make their lives a bit easier and add value along the way.
Absolutely.
You can do that. You're always going to have business as long as your doors are open.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
You operate out of the 3141 or for those in the know, South Yarra postal code.
Yep.
So just how much does the local, I guess, your South Yarra aesthetic and then also your Bayside and East Market just influence some of the, I guess, your signature styles or some of the, the designs in that you have for your clients?
I actually don't think, all of our design and our style is customized based on the property more so than the client. But the reason that we're really operating out of that area is efficiency and central access. We've also trialed our model in many different areas and it doesn't work in a lot of areas. And the reason for that, once you deep dive into the statistics, is where we're located. So in that sort of South Yarra pocket and that inner eastern area, what's the most important thing to people when they're, engaging a company like ours is the service. It's the service side. So we're, heavily focused there. But when we've tried to do this, say, sort of, outer west sort of pocket, the service is not the most important thing to the client. The price tag is. Yep. So what we're doing is, although handing over something tangible, it's service based. That's what the company does. So we're never focused on selling the product. We're focused on selling the service, and that's something that AI can't replace. So that's
true.
That's the other thing.
Aligning with with what clients want and expectations, and also where they're located, right? Just makes that next step a bit easier.
For sure. And it's just all about building up trust and we like to say that it was kind of a natural progression into the area, but it was a targeted progression in the area. Now it feels very natural because we've got a lot of trusted clients, trusted referral partners. So, what we've been able to build, we've built that trust basically through, our strong knowledge base. Our speed of execution is next level. We don't have a competitor that comes within 4 weeks of our finish date if we started on the same date, which is, huge.
Time is money. Time is money.
Time is money, but it's a huge thanks to our trades and all of our suppliers because we've written a process which was different to how everyone worked previously, and the buy-in that we've gotten from everyone has been sort of next level. But the main thing that I think that level of trust comes, the main sort of purpose or reason why we get that level of trust is our consistency. We don't change our process based on a club. We'll change our approach and we'll change our design and we'll change our aesthetic, but we don't change our process based on a property or a client.
Process is the process.
The consistency is key. And, our reputation in the East comes from just consistent delivery on every project, consistent timelines, consistent finishes. What we say is exactly what we're going to do. And that goes the same for all of our team as well. The moment that you start sort of, bastardizing your process is when no one knows what the hell is going on. So, and
that's in quality and even, as you say, your timelines fall apart. And
absolutely,
I'm sure, anyone listening, you kind of think first thing, I'm sure everyone's got a story. If you've gone on a renovation, whether it's yourself and you've needed to bring people in, sometimes you might think something which seems straightforward can take a couple of months, and you look at this and you go, well, then there's a part missing that needed to be ordered, and something you always want, and you go, surely this could have been done quicker. And that's it. So especially if it's in in your home, in the sense it's an imposition on your just daily living, or even if it's an investment property, if you're not renting that out or getting it sold, that's costing you money to hold that, or an opportunity cost. So
and you
by bringing that together is
you need buy-in from the client side as well. So in our case, the agent or the advocate or whoever it may be, they've got to then inform their client of how our process works so that we can keep this going for multiple properties at a time. Because if any part of that system sort of breaks down, that's when it kind of, goes under.
Some problems.
But all of our agents and clients know, like if I'm called to a property, if I'm not available that day, or one of us who does the quoting side of the business, we will be there the same business day to measure up the property, have a look. Our quote is a 24-hour timeline. From approval of that quote, we're on site within 2 business days.
Yeah.
So
it's unreal.
So that whole process from initially being at the property to starting, it's all in the client's hands really, but we can do that whole process within, 3 days to 3 to 5 days, give or take. As soon as we're on the property, it doesn't matter whether it's a studio apartment or a 5-bedroom apartment, it's still a 2-week timeline.
5-bedroom apartment?
Oh, sorry, apartment house.
That's right. I was going to say
5-bedroom house. I have been in a 5-bedroom apartment before. It was a lot of overkill, really. But
it's a lot of bedrooms in an apartment.
It's funny though, because you think, you look at it and you go, a 5-bedroom house is going to take you longer to do than say a studio apartment. The studio apartment actually takes longer to do than the house, because the house I can have multiple trades working there at the same time. The studio apartment I can only back one in one after the other because everyone's in each other's way.
Around South Yarra. There's a few of them around South Yarra. There's little
plenty,
boxes,
and they are. I mean, we've got a process for those specifically, but most sites that we're managing have multiple trades on them every single day.
Yeah.
The studios, you cannot do that because everyone's in each other's
space.
Yeah, there's no space.
Can't swing a cat in those.
Even bringing materials in is difficult because you can't leave anything in a hallway or anything. So, it gets quite interesting.
Awesome. No, that's great. So, talking a bit more about the studio, which is one of the half of what you do. Mm-hmm. So it's a creative core, I suppose. So client comes to you with a vision. Mm-hmm. How do you and your team ensure that you balance form, function, practicality as well without becoming I suppose, no one wants to be cookie cutter, right? Everyone wants their own sort of personality, and properties are, very important to Aussies, hence the block and all these renovation shows. There's a million and one of them. So how do you manage that in the studio?
Well, it all comes down to how we qualify our clients. Yep. The design aesthetic is not something we talk about until much sort of later in the process. But the very first question that we ask, is this an investment property, or is this a property that you are going to occupy? Because what we're going to design and recommend to you are very, very different things. It's also different if you are going to occupy the property, but you're only going to occupy it for 2 years, and then you're going to sell it. Our design has to reflect what the market will want in 2 years. So the qualifying questions are very important. That one specifically, what is this property going to do for you? What's the purpose? And like for investment properties, we're focusing on, what a tenant or a future buyer wants. We ensure the property stands out, but while being clean enough that someone can come in and put their own stamp on it.
Not too polarizing, I think.
We don't. Yeah. We're not going in there and painting the walls red.
Not 6 different feature walls. I've seen in the 90s.
No feature walls.
I love those. I love the house where I've gone in. I've had blue, purple, green, red, yellow, all in the same house.
We strip that out. We're actually doing one like that at the moment.
I love buying them for clients because they're often
just not selling them.
Yeah.
That's obviously why we get you in.
To fix it up afterwards. But
6 different paint tins. That's annoying. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you feel for the painters that have previously
in the 90s. What are we doing in the 90s?
What
were we doing?
I feel for my painter who has to go and repaint over the top of all those different colourful walls. They take a moment to bring them back. But look, for our owner occupiers though, there's a deeper understanding of the client's lifestyle, how they use the space, their family structure, their future family structure. Do we have dogs? Do we have kids? Do we want them? Like the questions are quite personal. We obviously give them a warning that we're going to ask those questions. But I kind of consult on the design team now, but haven't designed anything for the longest time because I've been on the other side. But I know when I used to qualify, I would always think about pet peeves at a property. So think of where you live right now, and we haven't renovated it yet. Go with that. Think about all the things that kind of annoy you in the day. Like at my house, for instance, it's like, well, it's fixed now, but before I had to have like the Dyson vacuum.
I'll be worried if you haven't fixed your own issues. Obviously, it's
funny though.
Yeah.
Sometimes you come home and you just don't want to keep working.
It's the mechanical, the accountant late taxes. It's the doctor who's smoking. Like it doesn't make sense, right? But it happens. So.
Like it'll be at my house. It was things like, everyone's got a Dyson vacuum, and I'm like, my Dyson vacuum is plugged into the corner of my lounge room because it's the only spare power point. Instead, there's no little cupboard with a power point. And, it's all the small intricacies of all your tools in the house, everything. Everything should have a place. Everything should be sorted. I used to ask clients to make me a cup of tea or make me a piece of toast when we were designing a kitchen, because I wanted to see how they were moving around their kitchen, where they were bending down when they were getting a saw back, where they were reaching, where they, were pulling out a stepladder to get to that cupboard, or, and watching them do that and then solving all those issues for them was, probably an unusual way of going about it, but it's the only way that you're really going to see it.
Well, you need to be in that space.
Well, because they can tell you, but your interpretation of what they've said is completely different understanding.
I think you get shop blind too, right? If you live there every day, you just you adapt to it over time. So you probably don't even think about it. And then someone else goes, "Why are you doing that?"
Exactly.
Well, that's what I've always done.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, my aim is to get your step count down in the kitchen. So not up. You're going to have to actually leave the house and go for a walk. But all of those things are factors in that qualification stage. We don't discuss the aesthetics or the fundamentals or anything like that until a little later. But, alignment of the goal is critical. We do get the client to start, working on a Pinterest board or something like that, because that starting part of the process for us is necessary. For them, it's not the exciting part, so we want to get them, flipping through magazines or creating a scrapbook or working on Pinterest. And reason for that more so is, we want to see them getting excited. We want to understand their style. And more often than not, they're showing you 5 to 10 different styles that don't work together. So you've got to...
No. It almost sounds like our job, Like I said, it's a very similar approach in that, I work with home buyers and investors, so it's head v heart.
Yeah.
And we show you like sold examples, because like people tell you, fill a wish list out, and then their sold examples are 3 or 4 different properties and they don't even match their wish list, right?
No.
So otherwise you go down the garden path, and if you're already designing something, and you don't want to be.
So we take out, we basically count up. They had 10 of this style, 3 of this style too. So we know that they're more aligned with this. But
can't you do a reno for him on one side of the house and her on the other side? That'll have good resale.
It normally goes inside and outside. You always find you're working.
The man cave?
You're working with the man cave outside. Normally.
We don't want to be stereotypical here, but you never know. That's it.
Commonly, that's, the clients we have.
The space that's left is typically...
Happy wife. We renovated a bit over 12 months ago, and some things that obviously I'll do it for a living, but as I said, happy wife, happy life. Because if she's not happy, I'm not happy. So it's not.
My husband doesn't get any input into our house whatsoever.
He's probably happy with that.
He is.
Yeah.
He'll come home and be like, new pillow or something. I'm like, yeah. And you're like, nice. That's kind of the end of the conversation about it.
Pick and choose your battles.
Yeah, he's happy.
Did we need 8? But it's okay.
Yeah, no, nothing.
No, we've got
I've not done any groceries or any laundry, but I've rearranged the living room. Sure. So that's kind of that. But yeah, look, from the design for me, working on the project management side, it's really an asset having the design team, because it's not necessarily that we get the design team involved in every single one of those concierge projects, but it does help set us apart from the few competitors we have.
Yeah.
And a good example of that is, we did quote probably about a year ago now, we quoted against another company, and I think it was just kind of, a Joe Blow the handyman type guy. But the agent had said to them, the back of the property is really dark. So the living, the dining room, the kitchen was super dark. So he's gone in and he's, the paint in the property was fine. It didn't need a repaint. The carpet was in good condition. The flooring was in good condition, but he'd come in with this quote for, like 15 to 20 grand to, repaint the house, take it from like a cream to a lexicon quarter or something, very polarizing white. Same with like the kitchen tiles and same with the floor. And I was just looking at it and I was like, everything is in good condition. It'd be such a shame to have them spend this money here when it's not necessary. But, I was looking at the roof and I'm like, they've got like 1 million downlights here. Like, that's not going to help. I'm like, I need to get the natural light in here. So I gave it to Beck and I said, what do you think? What can I do? And she just said to me, is the house a weatherboard home? I said, yes. And she's like, so putting in a window above the splashback in the kitchen. And she looked where the light was coming from. And she was like, so I think we could do that. Bit of touch-up paint, trim the bushes out the back. And all of a sudden it was night and day. Their quote was, between 15 and 20 grand. Ours was 3 for the same. And theirs wouldn't have worked anyway. Like, it would have been a little bit lighter in moments, but not really. Like, not overall. And plus, natural light is always going to win from a buyer's behavior versus
light is everything.
Artificial
light
gives you
is
energy.
the most important.
Yeah. So having the team there that can come and look at that versus because if I didn't have them, I would hope that I would have been a bit more creative than Mr. Handyman, but
the painter by trade, you're going to recommend painting, right? That's your jam.
The likely scenario is I would have quoted like for like, and this was, in the better interest of the client. Yeah,
fixing the problem. Yeah, light's everything. Light and aspect. If you got as an advocate, like that's like so important. Feel, vibe, whatever you want to call it. The castle, the vibe, but it is so important because no one wants to live in a dungeon, right? You want to sleep in the dark, but you're living in you want light and bright.
Yeah.
So.
And I think probably one thing to highlight is also you've made those options to, an everyday consumer, even if you're doing a relatively smaller renovation compared to maybe spending hundreds of thousands on a big house, is actually accessible. So there's a couple of ideas like what you've just highlighted, right, that are just smart around what you've been presented, but you've just let someone take that and been able to apply it in a way, and that's changed quite a bit, where sometimes people might always feel that might be a little bit, or they might have to pay thousands of dollars for someone to even look at that. It's part of your service offering, right? You're sort of trying to just help add value and solve that as part of the process.
Yeah. And I think too, like, I think we'll probably get into this a little bit more later, like if you're bringing in individual trades as the owner, if you're bringing in, in that particular example, you're bringing in a separate carpet, a flooring company, a separate painter, and a separate electrician to put in more lights. They're there to sell you their service. They're going to tell you that you need the light. They're going to tell you that you need the lighter carpet. They're going to tell you that they need the fresh paint. I'm not going to do that. I've got a budget with my client. I'm going to use it where they're best going to see return on investment. I'm not the trade. So, and also me just doing jobs to try to get the most amount of money out of my clients or out of the vendors is not going to serve me in the future, because the agents who are my referral partners are going to see that I'm ripping off people,
bite the hand that you feed, so
and they're no longer going to give me work. So my hands are tied in terms of being fair and fair and honest with the people that I'm working for.
No,
so
that's true. And you just also want to do a good job. They're happy. Yeah, you move on. But maybe we'll use that as a segue into the concierge side of the business. Yeah. So as we've highlighted, it's part of the value. We're talking off air about this, is the fact that yourself, or it might be Beck or someone else within the business, but what you're really doing is helping manage those different trades, and not just manage them, trying to understand the timelines and really make that concise and a really good experience for the end, in this case, the clients. Yeah. Talk us through, that side of the business, because it is, that would be a huge help around reducing stress levels and a bit of a game changer around getting that property just renovated for the family to move back into, or if an agent has engaged you, just getting that property onto the market to be able to sold in a faster time frame.
Yeah. So, I mean, the process was, the offering was put together to start off with, was very specific to, taking all of those actions away from a real estate agent. They're not getting paid to do that job, yet they're having to do it because it is in their better interest, because they're able to sell the property for more if it's all tarted up.
Or to sell it at all, right? They don't,
or to sell it at all to get people there. But yeah, look, the biggest impact that we have is on time saving for both the vendor and the agent. One of them is orchestrating this whole thing, and they shouldn't have to. Like our preferred trades mostly work exclusively or predominantly for Hiive, so I control their schedules, which is, you're not getting that when you're just calling up individual trades yourself. Like that.
Never heard a trade run late
ready.
or never get on time.
That's so unusual, isn't it?
I've never heard that.
Mine don't run late.
I'm not saying yours do, but I'm saying for the average punter dealing with the trades, like sometimes like going to the dentist, right? No one likes because you don't never know when they're going to shop. If they shop on time, they're not known for that. So
but
it's good that you control it.
Our agents save approximately 1/3 of their working year by using us, which means that the agent is solely focused on finding a buyer for the vendor instead of renovating. They're not just selling your property at the one, they're selling multiple properties at the same time. So do you want them focused or do you not want them focused? So there's a bit of that as well. So for the vendor, they've got someone who knows what they're doing versus having the agent doing it all themselves. They become a priority to the trades. They've got somebody who works in that industry and who understands what they should do, what they shouldn't do. And then they've got, that added variable of the agent being completely focused on a good result for their property. But, like I was saying before, private vendors calling random trades or whoever, you're rarely going to be a priority. You are a small one-time client. That doesn't matter, and they're going to mark up their margins for something smaller too. They have to. That's and you're going to experience delays. You're going to be pushed out for someone who they get multiple jobs from, and that's just going to continue. And like we were saying before, that time is money. That 2-week principle that we've adapted is big. But we're transitioning those properties in 2 weeks, and that's full flooring, curtains, painting, landscaping, styling, cleaning, inside and out, the whole shebang.
There's
that's
no
all
way,
happening.
There's no way you can do that unless you know what you're doing.
You'd still be waiting for the first trade to come, like if you were trying to do that yourself. But, we've worked hard and consistently to achieve those timelines. And a lot of the process, behind the scenes really assist with that. In terms of a sales price, we're very careful not to overcapitalize. And, we spend time in the property to understand what's going to get the best return on investment for the client. I said it before, if you've got a cabinet maker that's coming in because you have a door that's fallen off or something like that to fix it, and then you're like, oh, I was thinking I might replace the kitchen before we sell the property. They're going to sell you a kitchen. They're not going to tell you that it's a silly idea. Whereas I'd never tell you to replace a kitchen or a bathroom prior to sale. You won't see the return. You simply won't.
You get the right, everyone has personal preferences and choices. So.
Another thing, just to highlight, before we move on, is, and this is just speaking on a personal note, but people can find you in terms of you're on social media, in terms of if there's an issue, there's an element of obviously quality control. So although you may not be the one specifically plumbing or doing the electrics, you want to maintain a certain standard around what you're delivering.
Completely.
I mean, when we were building a house out in regional Vic, I remember getting a call. We were sort of getting the fencing and landscaping put up. We sort of obviously aren't near that location. The landscaper phoned me and asked if the fencing was finished. So I said, as far as I know, he said, well, hang on, they've leveled the top, but the bottom they've left all these gaps big enough, you can get the dogs out. So I went to the fence and they said, oh no, but we leveled it out. So I said, that's not the point of a fence, is you're trying to sort of, keep a bit of a perimeter.
Make it secure.
So it's even things like, no,
it's not really a fence otherwise.
If you're not doing that every day, it's again, something I would have assumed we would just naturally have a fence that goes into the ground.
Yeah.
Again, there's a bit of context there, but again, you then as the client wasting time trying to then get hold, and then they can only come back in 2 weeks, and there's this. So it's also that whole part of stress, which is
and I think
taking away.
Quotes are written in a way, they're written in tradie shorthand, if you will, for the most part, or they're overly detailed and they're very difficult to understand what's included and what's not included. So there's a lot of money lost and, miscommunications that happen between just what's written on their quote that you're just not interpreting as someone who doesn't work in that industry. But, we also track our data. So we know without overcapitalizing, and if anyone wants to know more about what I mean by that, they can give us a call. Without overcapitalizing, we know that if you put $1 into your property, you're getting 4 in return. At the point of sale. 4 to 1. So that's what you're getting back. And that's, that's not numbers we've made up. That's
based on data.
It's personal data. So, well, not even personal, it comes from our agencies that we work with. So it's coming through them. So that's it. But, I just want to throw one more thing out there to people who are, thinking about, getting ready to sell. If you have a house where you've got flaking off the walls in terms, we'll use paint as an example. You've got flaking off the walls, you've got crack, the paint colors are like what you were saying before, all those different colors. And
I love those houses as an advocate.
Looks a mess. You painting your house white, you can't then go to your agent and say, I've just painted the house, so I'm expecting X amount of money more.
100 grand more.
That is, you're just bringing the property back to market standard. That is what, if you're looking at the market and you're going, this is the price tag, this is, the average for our type of house in this type of area, your house needs to be on point to that. So bringing a property back up to market is not necessarily
a value add.
A value add. So you've got to be very careful with what we do is, are we bringing it up or are we value adding?
And I think, like a crack, like I regulate at open home and you'll see buyers, and if there's a big crack there, it's the what if scenario, like what's wrong? And so I think removing that is really important, because then people then don't look for what's right, they look for what's wrong.
Yeah.
And they've all got the wrong headspace, and the emotional connection doesn't fall in, they don't fall in love with the property, which ultimately is what the aim of what you do. So.
I have a very big focus area, which is exactly like that. The example of the little crack, they start deep diving.
I love them.
What else is there?
And I jump up on the floor, I'm 6'6" and over 100 kegs, and if a few buyers there, if I'm trying to, just sort of emphasize that the subfloor is a bit squeaky, because the buyers, they're freaking out. You can see it.
Yeah.
You can see them go, oh, what's wrong?
Yeah.
What else is there? What else is wrong? I love it.
My main focus point of that, and because my job's to make sure that none of those questions exist when someone walks through a door.
So come on, you got to help out an advocate out here. So
we have to get you some ones that I've not touched yet.
Yeah.
But one point that I always look at is in the bathroom, in the showers, I look at the caulking and the grouting.
Oh, it's always a good sign. I love it when they're mold everywhere and everyone's and you got the skirting boards that are all destroyed and
As soon as I see caulk and grout missing, the first thing I think is where the water's leaking to somewhere. Where's it going?
Subfloor.
So
you can't see it
immediately. And you know what? I'm not the only person who's thinking that. Most people are thinking that, because if you're going to spend, what are we averagely spending these days? 1.1, 1.2
median house price. Median house price. About $1 million, about 950 mil is a median house price.
Yeah. You are not walking in and, we're not buying a t-shirt from Zara. We're looking at all these little points to make sure we're, you don't want to.
No, that's good.
It's a lot going on in there. Very overwhelming. But you want to make sure that all those little what ifs are taken care of.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Brooke. So I think you've touched on a lot of this already, but I have a lot of agents listening, and you've mentioned the time saving a third, which is huge. I work in real estate on the buying side, but is there anything else that you can do to empower these agents to help them do the job better? So obviously time saving, which is time's money, right, for what we do.
Call me.
Having it call you. That's
call
it.
Me.
Call me and I'll solve the rest. You should have a t-shirt. Call me.
Yeah,
I should have a
t-shirt. But look, the outside of the saving time and all of that sort of, we track.
But that's huge anyway.
We
that's
track
a massive
everything.
thing.
The $1 in $4, but we also track the agent's time. And we said it before. Agents managing this work by themselves. They've got multiple properties at a time. They're booking between 5 and 8 trades per site. Then they're letting them in. Then they're quality checking, and they're making all of the decisions. And then there's a lot going on there. This all happens while they're trying to list and sell other properties. And so we talked about it before. We give the agents back 32% of their time. But then what we didn't say before is, that time can use
chase more business.
Well, they can monetize that. So not only from monetizing the time that you've got back, but the fact that I'm handing back a property to you that's worth more.
Easy to sell too. Days of the market matter. And I think the fact that you're growing, we were chatting before, that's a testament, because real estate is small. People know people, they talk. If you weren't doing a good job, you wouldn't be growing, right? And reputation's everything. So you're obviously doing a lot of things right.
You're getting back. So we've asked the agents to, so we know what time they're getting back, but then plus the value of the property that it now is at, they're seeing revenue increases or wage increases from that of the previous year.
You make the agents look good.
40 to 45% is what our agents are getting on return by using us versus not using us. Now, if someone walked into your office and said, hey, I'm going to take 30% of your work off you. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it
for me.
I'm going to do it for free for you. And you're almost going to double your income from your previous year. Tell me that you're saying no to that, because if someone walked into my office and said exactly that today.
It's not Amway? No.
Yeah.
No, it's too good. No, the numbers are compelling.
Tell me you saying no to that. I definitely am not. And the other thing that they're getting from this, which is just an extra added bonus because there's something I get in return from this as well, if you sign up with us and sign one of our contracts, or your agency does, I will not work with another agency in your office postcode. So I am now, or we are, our team is now your point of difference. So they're rocking up with me. Sometimes they can use me in this sense when they're initially meeting, you know, someone who's selling their property. Like we said before, a lot of agents kind of, you know, the same, very stereotypical. They're all coming as they are, and you're coming with me. And before you've before you've even, you know, submitted your proposal to, you know, that person, you've already got your proposal and your quote to have the property ready.
As a baseline.
You've already showed the vendor that you're already working for them, even though you haven't been paid yet.
Gone above and beyond.
And that's, they've gone above and beyond. And so being a part of that process and having that point of difference, I think is, you know, if I was an agent, that'd be something that I would be interested in. So,
well, I mean, the first one of the questions they're going to ask is why are we picking you based on, you know, 10 other people in the area?
Yeah.
Reputation, point of difference, as you say, and especially if you make their lives easier and they can attract more money on selling. It's a hard one to not consider when that's what you're in the business of doing.
And the connections as well that the agents can get via working with us, because we don't just work for agents, we work for advocates, you know, buyer and selling advocates. So a lot of the times when an advocate is coming into an area where I'm already working for a real estate agent, that's perfectly fine. But, you know, I will say to them, you know, with this house, have you considered, you know, old mate from X real estate, because we work with him and we get really great results with him. So, you know, you continually connecting people, which has worked out to be pretty good for us and for them. So,
Avoiding the overcap trap is one of your key specialities, where you want to make sure your clients don't overcapitalize on what they spend. Can you give us a bit of insight into, you know, what's the Hiive formula for someone, whether they're, you know, trying to decide whether they should spend $50,000 or $100,000 on a property where they're looking to generate a return if it's going to auction?
Yeah. So overcapitalizing is mainly done in two areas: our bathroom and our kitchens. We will never advise a client to pull one out unless there is a massive issue going on there, and that's an entirely different process. We're stepping into the field of a build versus a cosmetic renovation, so that's two very different things. We would never tell anybody to do that. But if we are looking at a kitchen that's a little bit dated, we might look at, you know, replacing splashbacks or the bench top, or, you know, tapware or handles or something like that. It doesn't need all of them most of the time, but sometimes it needs, you know, one or two of those items. So, you know, that's very important. And you'll never see your money back on replacing a kitchen or a bathroom if you're selling immediately afterwards. You know, there's a time span that we need.
Well, you get it wrong. How do you know what your buyer likes? Like,
well,
you know, you put a
that's
red,
exactly right.
Everyone loves a red splashback.
And I think that's probably another thing to really think about, where they can possibly, it's not really about overcapitalizing, it's just about, you know, maybe wasting money. If you're flipping a property to sell, your personal style has no place in this formula. It doesn't matter what you like. It matters what your buyer likes. So in both of those sort of examples I just gave, the number one thing that we are going to do at Hiive is collaborate with the market representative who you've got. So whether that's the advocate or the agent, we're going to be collaborating with them, because I know what the property needs, and, you know, we've been doing this for enough time and we have our formulas. I know how far I want to take it, but your agent or your advocate knows what's happening in the market right now. So it's it's very important for me to be having those discussions with them. I'm also not selling to the vendor either. I'm putting my process is back to the agent. It is the agent's conversation to have with the owner about their, you know, their spend versus their return. And that's, you know, that's their insight. That's not mine. So making sure that you're touching base with the right people, like what's going on in your head and what ideas you have is, you know, it could be right, but it could be wrong, and it's a big gamble to take without consulting in the right people. So definitely do that. But yeah, my number one thing is, you know, really prioritizing an order of works, and then having itemized pricing next to it so that you can really pick and choose what we're going ahead with. But I leave it to, you know, that collaboration with the vendor and the agent, and then me and the agent. and then we all kind of figure it out together.
Fantastic. So, Brooke, so we know, and I see this in my job all the time, there's a reason that the Block and Bunnings are so big. Everyone loves a DIY, right? Like everyone's an expert in property. You know, just go to a barbecue and everyone's got an opinion. Yeah. But where do people blow their budgets most commonly? You know, obviously, I imagine there's lots of areas, but what's the most common area where people just go wrong?
It's really probably not the things that you think. Like people will go,
that's good. That's what I'm keen to hear more.
The missus blows the budget on the expensive tiles or something like that.
It's always the wife's fault.
It's nothing like that. It is actually attempting to do work yourself that you're just not qualified to do. We get a lot of these phone calls.
What sort of area? Like, because I personally, we did a reno and I did none of it.
Plumbing, people try to plumb themselves is a big one, and 9 times out of 10,
you deserve something to go wrong if you're not a plumber and you try and do plumbing.
Well, when we are called down to the property, the funniest thing is like they've got a quote and they've decided to do it themselves, and now to fix what they've done, it's going to be more than the original quote. Yeah. So this happens a lot. We actually had one a few years ago with the Block.
On the Block?
No, not on the Block, from the Block.
Like they post the Block.
Yeah, they watched the Block and they got all inspired to open up their kitchen, living, dining room and busted down a load-bearing wall and their roof collapsed and we got that phone call. So I would probably...
That's a very, very expensive retrofitted renovation. Yeah.
Joe, it's not funny, but it is...
It is funny.
It does highlight the point. It's not funny if it's your roof.
Yeah.
No, and it's really bad too, like, because it's not just like... That is a very extreme example, obviously, but, you know, you get there and they're like... So they're kind of still holding on to that little bit of hope that you can just, you know, put in a couple of beams or something and then they can plaster and it's all back to normal. No, the house had to be condemned. It was unsafe. They had to move out. They had to go rent somewhere else while they're still paying the mortgage on this place. Well, that was seen to. Engineers have to be called. All that things takes time, you know, like, so that was a big one. The plumbing things are usually, they've just gone rogue with the sledgehammer or something. Demo is a big one. People doing their own demo and not capping off their electrical or their plumbing before they demo. They just start ripping stuff out. Happens all the time. Like, or they've just forgot. We've had people that have, you know, they've left a wire live somewhere in their house and then taken a sledgehammer to it and got a bit of a shock. Like, there's a million things that happen.
The moral of the story here is watching the Block is dangerous.
Dangerous.
No, gives you sort of a false sense of ability. False sense of ability.
Like, I get really worried after the Block finishes, like the amount of phone calls and stuff you get. But we do.
Good for business.
We don't watch the Block, but we do have to look at the room reveals, and the reason for that is
the trends.
Well, no, not the trends, because I've found that they're actually quite behind. However, a lot of your clients that come through will be like, did you see so-and-so's bedroom on the Block? That's what I'm after. So you kind of have to at least know what they're talking about when they're referring to it. So we do check that. So, the first mistake, though, is trying to do work that you're just not capable or not qualified of doing. Like I said, fixing those mistakes often costs more money than it would have up front anyway.
Just get you in. That's the secret, right?
Well,
just get some help.
Yes.
Just don't do it yourself.
Poor quality trades. Air task is massive these days. Careful with the air taskers. There are some good ones. I have used air tasker myself from time to time. There are some good ones, but air tasker, poor quality trades, not understanding trade quotes or exclusions. So you going ahead and saying, yes, we'll put in this shower or something, and then they've actually excluded, you know, there's a lot of exclusions around where they're running pipes to, or they haven't included tapware or whatever it may be. Like, and these are just examples. And then they'll call you up and go, okay, can we go ahead with the rest of it? Do you want us to do this? And you say yes, and then all of a sudden you've got this variation that you were not familiar with because you thought it was included, but actually it's not, but you've approved it. That happens a lot, that sort of miscommunication. So that happens. Working without plans. So even like a light interior design plan to work with. If you're bringing trades to your property and you don't have some form of plan, what are you holding them accountable to?
Good point.
Because you can't. If they do it wrong, you can't be like, well, I thought that was going to be there. Well, it's not. You don't have anything that shows me that that's where it goes.
And it's hard if, you know, they might...
That's expensive.
Like anything, right? You can both discuss the same thing and we can both leave this room and you'll have a completely different view on how that might look or how you perceive it. That's 100%. Not that other person's fault unless you, as you said, you've been clear and concise around what you want.
Yeah.
It's the old failing to plan is planning to fail.
Yep.
you got to, yeah.
My gym teacher used to tell me that when I was at school. Another one, using cheap materials over quality materials. There is a nice, healthy medium. It does exist. It's there to be found.
100%. Yeah.
But you use cheap materials, and that's just going to lead to constant repairs and replacements over the course of time. So you might not see, that leave your bank account immediately, but you will see it over time.
No,
and so you got to add that
clear
in.
of those properties that have been renovated. Like obviously I'm a professional myself, and you just know when the quality's like, looks
the
great
lino
today. Mutton dressed up as lamb.
Timber floors always gets me. I walk in, I'm like, oh, that just hurts my feelings. The other one though is not accounting for the true cost of your own time. That's the biggest way that you lose money on renovating a property.
Good point.
I know, for example, with me, I mean, I do work in the industry, so it's a little bit different, but pretend I didn't. I'm of more value to the renovation situation going to work and bringing in the wage than I am doing the work myself.
100%.
So
100% outsource. Yeah.
Those trades are getting things done in a quarter of the time that I could do them myself. So,
and hopefully a lot better quality.
But people don't think that way. I don't think for the most time they go, oh, there's no over, and it's the same with service-based industry. They're looking at it and they're going, well, the only overhead is the wage. There's no materials. There's no this. There's no that. So if I do spend more time on it, there's still no. You've just lost money. You're looking at the
opportunity cost, which people don't factor in, and
you've lost out. So you really need to think about that. But all of those things combined, I actually have a lady who I consulted with recently. She beautiful lady, saved up all of her money, bought herself this apartment. I thought I was going over there to consult on, it's going to become an investment for her. I thought I was going to consult, and she hadn't done anything yet. And it looked that way when I got there. It looked like she hadn't done anything yet. We had, it's a very small, white little 2-bedroom apartment. The curtains are black. The floors are black.
Black curtains?
Yeah, there's feature walls. There's all of this kind of stuff. I'm like, all this has got to go. It was like, it's got to be light and bright in here. That's what the investors want. When I've taken her through, our process and everything, and she's gone, the look on her face just dropped. And I'm like, at that moment, I realized I should have qualified this client a bit better. That was the renovation that I was looking at that she did. So not consulting in the right people.
Truth stings a little bit.
Yeah, and she'd laid the floors herself, and you could tell like there was a lot to unpack in that property. And I'm just
sounds like it.
Yeah, but it happens more than you think. So it came back to what I said before. If it's going to be an investment, your personal tastes don't matter.
Use the head, not the heart. Head.
Your ideas can still be great, but your taste does not matter. The market taste does. So
that's fair.
Sink that one in.
Lots of gold there. Lots of gold.
Yeah, that's it.
Brooke, as we wrap up, we've got just 2 quick fire last questions that we're going to throw your way.
Yep.
So the first one is, someone wanted to sell their property before winter. Mm-hmm. What are 2 key things they could look at or start working on this weekend?
So we need to clearly see what the property requires. So clean it. Deep clean it. Every cupboard, every window, every cobweb, the facade, outside, pull the weeds, trim back the bushes, mow the lawns, clean the property to high hell. Often you'll find that the things that you think you need to do, you don't actually have to once you've done a deep clean. So cleaning is something that everyone can do. So clean. And then second step, call me after you've cleaned. I'll come over and we'll have a look at what you should be doing next. So they're the 2 steps.
Well, that segues perfectly into the how do people find you? There's so many gold nuggets. I think we're going to have Brooke back at some point, Maddie, is because probably renovations is an Aussie pastime. But how do people find you, Brooke? And the Hiive, sorry.
You can find the Hiive, so you can call out the 1-800 number, which is on our website, hiiveco.com.au. Yep. But for your listeners, they can call me directly on my mobile, which is 0434 919 346, or brooke at hiiveco.com.au for email.
Awesome. We can share those details as well, Maddie, because I'm sure there's so many people, having done a reno myself over 12 months. I did.
Think you could have done it in 2 weeks.
Oh, I lived with my in-laws. I was 4 months with in-laws, but we did the kitchen, the bathrooms. We opened up, but I did none of it, and that's probably a good thing, because I think I'd probably stuff up the demo like some of your people. You wouldn't want to call, and I'm not very handy. I use my brain for that's. I'm a knowledge worker. But I appreciate it, Brooke. It's lots of gold nuggets there today, I think, Maddie.
Yeah, so. Thank you guys very much for having me. It's been fun.
Thank you for coming on. We look forward to having you back. I'm sure later in the year, and we'll sort of delve into some other stories that you've experienced between now and then.
We'll keep sketch for you. There'll be a few goldies in there, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
If you would like to keep receiving property insights and golden nuggets from our guests, please do follow us and you'll get the latest episode released on a fortnightly basis.